Hey, hello guys, this is Karthik from executeautomation.com. This is part 6 of our BDD video series. So, in this video, we are going to work with our scenario which we created in part 4 and our part 5. So, before starting this series, I would request you to watch part 4 and part 5 since this part is going to be a continuation of part 4 and part 5. So, let's get started. In this topic, we are going to discuss about working with scenarios, working with steps, running the scenario, checking the expected output via Text Explorer. So let's don't waste our time and start working with it. So this was the feature which we created, and this is the step definitions which we created in part 5 of this series. So what I'm going to do here is I want to add some logic for all these statements. So we'll take this scenario as it is and let's change this tag to smoke test, and so that we can make sure that hey, this test is going to be for just smoke test. I'm going to keep this scenario as it is, and I'm also going to persist all this data as it is. So we'll work with this one and see how it works. So what it says is, given I have entered 50 into the calculator and I have entered 70 into the calculator, when I press add, then I should see 120 on the screen. So that's great. So we will go to the step definitions. So here, as you could see, it says there is a line that scenario.current.pending, which means it says that this scenario contest is currently in pending state. So even if you run this test, it will not give you any result. So you can see that actually, and that you can do from our test explorer. And if I run the selected test, as you could see, it tells the first line of the feature itself. It says, given I have entered into the calculator of number 50. So if you go back to the feature file, you can see that given I have entered 50 into the calculator. So it says that this step of the feature itself has not yet implemented. So if I go to the definition, and I can see that since this step has the pending method called, it automatically reports to the text explorer or the test. This step has yet to be implemented and cannot run further. So I'm going to just delete this particular line and save it, and then I'm going to implement the functionality of the calculator now. But now you have a question. I have not yet recorded or got any objects of a real calculator application, but how am I going to enter or how I'm going to perform the operations? So if you take QDP or Selenium or CodeDY test, there we will be getting the object of the actual application, and from there we will be recording or performing the operation of the calculator. But here we don't have any object of a real application itself. So how do the step definitions or the Specflow knows that how to work with a real application in conjunction? So the question is right, but the answer is you are correct. We have not got any object of any application yet. So we are not going to work with the real application in this part at least. We will work the real working application in the upcoming video series. But as of now, we will only discuss how the Specflow works in conjunction with your input, and also how the feature files and step definitions give a handshake and work with a fake applications. So if you have an experience of Microsoft Fakes, or if you are a Java guy, if you have worked in Mockito framework of Java, you may be knowing that you can fake the real application, but you can add a fake assembly and you can mimic the actual functionality of the real application as a faked application in your part of your working application code, so that you can make sure that your real application is working fine with the help of your fake application. So the same thing we are going to do right here. We are going to write all the logics for testing a fake application first, and then in upcoming video series we are going to replace the fake application and bring in the real application. So as of now, we'll just write the logic for testing the real application. In our upcoming series, once we start working with the real application, we'll plug in the real application for this particular steps, and then we'll work from there. Do not get confused. We will start writing the code so that you can start understanding what I mean. So what I'm going to do is, for this step, I'm going to say that given I have entered 50 into the calculator, and you can see that there are two steps which have the same functionality. It says given I have entered 50 into the calculator, and it says and I have entered 70 into the calculator. But as you could see here, there are like 1 2 3 4 steps in the feature, but in the step definition there are only 3 steps, since the two steps which are of same functionality are actually combined into this particular step definition itself, since they have used a regular expression automatically. So whatever value you pass in here, like 50 or 70, this value will be passed as a parameter for this particular step in P0. So to demonstrate that, what if I do this? If I add calculators to calculators, now we can see the line has changed, since this step is different from the above steps. Even if you do a regular expression there, it doesn't work, since this is just calculator, this is not calculators, and hence the steps are different. That's why the regular expressions are very useful. So where you can use this regular expression is if you see that there are 5 or 6 or even 7 steps are going to be the same for a single scenario, then you can probably write that particular step in step definition with the same step in the step definitions. So I'm going to delete this. So we'll discuss more about the regular expressions in the upcoming videos of this video series. So I'm just going to save as of now, and what I'm going to do is, so instead of this P0, I'm going to give some meaningful name here. So I'm going to say like numbers, and so I'm going to enter number 50 or 70 into the calculator. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type console.writeLine of number. So this is the number I'm going to enter into my calculator. Oh, it's numbers, right? And then I'm going to press add button. So again, we don't have an add button right now, so again I'm going to write that in my console.writeLine. So I'm going to say like console.writeLine of uh, oops, first add button, and then I want to see the result. So that's the next line. Then the result should be 120 on the screen. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this pending scenario contest. So now I'm going to verify if, so this logic you can bring in from your actual UI of the application, which displays 120 as a result, which you can grab and put it right here, and then you can verify from the parameter. Since we don't have an actual UI right now, I'm just going to hard code the value. So if, okay, let's see, let's give a meaningful name here, result. So if result is equal to 120, so since it's an integer, I'm just giving 120 as a number. So now the console.writeLine says the test passed. All right, and then you can say like else fail. That's it. So what I was saying is, here the result is the value which is coming from the parameter. So the 120, as of now we don't have an application, so we're just trying to fake the actual functionality of the application. So instead of this 120, what you can do is you can grab the object which has the value 120 in the UI of your real application. Just ignore my typo. And replace that, right? So that you can test your real application directly, right? So that's it. So this is the test case implementation of our whole scenario that we have written. Now if I run this test, let's see what will happen. If I run this selected test, wow, the test got passed. That's great. So if we see the output here, you can see that given I have entered 50 into the calculator, so it prints 50 because we have printed the number here, which is 50. And it also has, where's the output? Yeah, so it also has, and I have entered 70 into the calculator. So we also printed number 70 again. When I pressed add button, so that was the next step we wrote in the console.writeLine. Then the result should be 120 on the screen. See, now I could see that the test got passed, which means it's actually verifying the input value with the value which we compared. So what if I change the actual value which is coming from the screen? So as of now we don't have a screen, but the value which we have hard coded from 120 to like 121. And if I save it, and if I once again go back to the test explorer, and if I run this test, as you can see here, the test got failed. But here you don't see the test has failed, since you should throw an exception, which you can do from top, and then you can throw a exception. And now if I run the test once again, now we can see the test got failed. And if you go back to your result, it directly points to this line and it says that the values are different. So this is how you can test your fake applications with the real working functionality, and you can see how things works. So once your application is ready, you can replace all your steps with your real application instead of console.writeLine, and then you can start working from there. So I hope this video have given you a brief introduction of how to create and work with a scenario, and how we can run the test, and how we can see the result. So in the next part, we'll discuss more about working with the different kinds of data, how to work with the large data instead of just one value as an input. Thank you very much for watching. Have a great day.